Prepare yourself for an extraordinary story that proves heroes walk among us every day, often wearing the faces of ordinary people facing their own struggles. You're about to witness Single Mother Took a Baby to the ER. The CEO knelt in thanks. You just saved my child's life. A powerful tale of maternal instinct, courage, and the incredible bonds formed in moments of crisis. Before we begin this heart-stopping journey, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell. Your support helps us share more of these incredible true stories that remind us of the strength and compassion that exists in humanity. Now let's dive into this unforgettable story. The emergency room at St. Mary's Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, was experiencing one of those deceptively quiet Tuesday nights in early March. The kind that made experienced nurses nervous, knowing that calm in an ER was usually the breath before the storm. Outside, an unseasonable dust storm was building, painting the desert sky an ominous orange-brown that filtered through the hospital's windows like a sepia photograph. Isabella Bella Ramirez sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair of waiting room B, her 3-year-old son Lucas curled against her chest, his small body radiating heat through his dinosaur pajamas. She'd been debating for 2 hours whether to come in. The copay would mean choosing between electricity or groceries this month. But when Lucas's temperature hit 104.5, despite the children's Tylenol, her mother's instinct overrode financial anxiety. "Mommy, my ear hurts," Lucas whimpered, his usually bright brown eyes glazed with fever. "I know, mi amor. The doctor will help soon." Bella gently rocked him, humming the lullaby her own mother used to sing, trying to ignore the way her back ached from her double shift at the Amazon warehouse. She'd clocked out at 10 p.m., picked up Lucas from her neighbor Mrs. Chen's apartment, and discovered him burning with fever. The waiting room held its usual collection of Phoenix's struggling families: a construction worker cradling his bandaged hand, an elderly couple speaking quietly in Spanish, a teenage girl with what looked like a skateboarding injury, and in the corner, pacing like a caged animal, was a man who looked completely out of place. Everything about him screamed money, from the perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit that probably cost more than Bella made in 3 months, to the Rolex catching the fluorescent lights, to the Italian leather shoes that had never seen a dusty Phoenix construction site. But it was his face that caught Bella's attention. She'd seen that expression before, in the mirror, the night her husband Diego had died in a motorcycle accident 2 years ago. Pure, undiluted terror. In his arms was an infant, maybe 5 months old, dressed in what looked like designer baby clothes that were now stained with vomit. The baby was too quiet, too still, and even from across the room, Bella could see the grayish tinge to the infant's skin that made her stomach clench with recognition. The man was on his phone, his voice carrying despite his attempt to keep it low. "I don't understand what happened. Emma was fine this morning. The nanny said she had a slight cold, but then she called me from the gala and Emma wasn't waking up properly. And now she's barely responding and they won't tell me anything and—" His voice cracked. "Please, Monica, just get here. I know you're in New York, but I can't do this alone." He ended the call and resumed pacing, the baby limp in his arms. Bella watched him check his phone obsessively, probably Googling symptoms, making himself more frantic with each search result. She knew that spiral well. The baby made a sound, not a cry, more of a weak, gasping wheeze that Bella recognized with horrible clarity. She'd heard that sound before, when Lucas was 6 months old and they'd spent a week in the PICU with RSV that had turned into pneumonia. She knew that wheeze, knew what it meant. Without conscious thought, Bella stood, still holding Lucas, and approached the man. "Excuse me, sir." The man turned and she could see him trying to place her, probably wondering if she was staff, then dismissing that based on her worn jeans and faded Phoenix Suns t-shirt. "Yes?" His voice was polite but distracted, already turning back to his phone. "Your baby. May I look at her? I'm not a doctor, but—" "We're waiting our turn," he said, a defensive edge creeping in. Rich people, Bella knew, didn't like unsolicited advice from people like her. "Sir, please, just let me look at her breathing." Something in Bella's tone made him stop. He turned back to her, and for the first time really looked at her, saw Lucas fevered against her chest, saw the exhaustion carved into her 28-year-old face, saw the steadiness in her dark eyes. "Are you a nurse?" he asked hopefully. "No, just a mother who's been through this. Please." He hesitated, then stepped closer, angling the baby toward her. This close, Bella could see everything she'd feared. The baby's chest retracting with each labored breath, the blue tinge around her lips, the flaring nostrils struggling for air. But it was the sound, that high-pitched stridor with each inhale, that confirmed her worst suspicions. "How long has she been breathing like this?" Bella asked, keeping her voice calm despite the alarm bells ringing in her head. I don't know. Maybe an hour? The nanny said she was fussy all day, wouldn't take her bottle. I was at a charity gala. I'm supposed to give a speech in an hour, actually, but when the nanny called saying Emma was acting strange, I came straight here. An hour. Bella's mind raced. The baby's oxygen levels were probably dropping dangerously low. Every minute counted with respiratory distress this severe. "What's your name?" Bella asked. "Alexander. Alexander Stone." The name was vaguely familiar. She'd seen it on the news maybe, or on the sides of buses. Phoenix's golden boy, tech entrepreneur, the youngest billionaire in Arizona. But none of that mattered now. He was just a terrified father with a dying baby. "Alexander, we need to get Emma seen right now. This isn't just a cold or flu. She's in severe respiratory distress. Look at her chest. See how it's sucking in with each breath? Those are retractions. And her color. She's not getting enough oxygen." "But they said to wait." "No." Bella's voice was firm. "We're not waiting." Still carrying Lucas, who watched with wide, fevered eyes, Bella marched to the triage desk with Alexander following uncertainly. "Excuse me," Bella said to the triage nurse, a tired-looking woman named Janet, according to her badge. "This infant needs immediate attention. Severe respiratory distress with retractions, stridor, and cyanosis. Probable RSV progressing to bronchiolitis or pneumonia." Janet looked up, irritation flashing across her face. "Ma'am, we have a system—" "I understand that." Bella kept her voice professional but firm, drawing on the medical vocabulary she'd learned during Lucas's hospitalization. "But this baby is showing signs of impending respiratory failure. Her O2 sats are probably in the low 80s or worse. Listen to her breathing. That's upper airway obstruction. She needs intervention now." Janet looked at the baby more carefully, and Bella saw the moment the nurse actually saw what Bella had seen. Her entire demeanor changed. "Bring her back. Now." Janet was already calling for support. "I need a respiratory team to Trauma 2 stat. Possible RSV with respiratory failure, infant approximately 6 months. 5 months, Alexander corrected numbly, following as they were rushed through the emergency doors. The next minutes were controlled chaos. Emma was placed on a tiny bed, immediately surrounded by medical personnel. Bella should have returned to the waiting room with Lucas, but Alexander's hand had somehow found her arm, gripping it like a lifeline, and she couldn't leave him. "O2 sats at 79, someone called out. "Get her on high-flow oxygen immediately. IV access established. Call respiratory for continuous nebulizer treatments. Someone get a chest X-ray ordered." Dr. Michael Harrison, the ER attending, looked at Alexander. "Are you the father?" "Yes, is she... will she..." "We're doing everything we can. She's in respiratory distress, likely from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. It's usually mild in adults and older children, but in infants, it can be life-threatening." He glanced at Bella. "Are you the mother?" "No, Bella started. "She's the one who recognized the symptoms," Alexander interrupted. "She insisted we be seen immediately." Dr. Harrison looked at Bella with surprise and respect. "You have medical training?" "No, just experience. My son had RSV that turned into pneumonia when he was 6 months old. I spent 2 weeks in the PICU learning every breathing pattern, every warning sign." "Well, your experience may have saved this baby's life. Her O2 levels indicate she was heading toward respiratory failure. Another hour, maybe less, and we might have been looking at intubation or worse." Alexander's knees seemed to give out. He sank into a chair, still staring at Emma, who was now pink again under the oxygen mask, though still working hard to breathe. "Thank you," he whispered to Bella. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." "She's going to be okay," Bella said gently, though she was swaying slightly herself, the adrenaline crash combining with exhaustion. Lucas whimpered in her arms, reminding her why she'd come in the first place. "Your son," Alexander said, seeming to really see Lucas for the first time. "He's sick too. You came here for him. Just an ear infection, I think, nothing like—" She gestured toward Emma. "But you stopped to help us. Any mother would have." "No," Alexander said firmly. "They wouldn't have. The triage nurse didn't see it. I didn't see it. His own father didn't recognize that my baby was dying. Dr. Harrison returned. Mr. Stone, we're going to admit Emma to the PICU. She'll need continuous monitoring and respiratory support for at least a few days. The good news is we caught it in time. No signs of organ damage from oxygen deprivation. Can I stay with her? Of course, we'll get you set up once she's stable. The doctor turned to Bella. Ma'am, what did you bring your son in for? High fever? Ear pain? It's probably just an ear infection, but his temperature was 104.5 at home. Janet will get you triaged properly. Thank you again for your intervention with the Stone baby. Your advocacy absolutely made the difference. As the doctor walked away, Alexander stood. I don't even know your name. Isabella Ramirez, Bella. This is Lucas. Hi, Lucas, Alexander said gently to the little boy, who buried his face shyly in his mother's neck. Bella, I owe you everything. Emma is all I have. Her mother died when she was 2 months old. Car accident. If I lost her too. You didn't, Bella said firmly. She's going to be fine. RSV is scary, but now that she's getting treatment, she'll recover. Kids are resilient. A nurse approached. Mr. Stone, we're moving Emma to the PICU now. You can come with us. Alexander looked torn, glancing between Emma and Bella. Go, Bella said. Be with your daughter. Can I have your number? I need to thank you properly when things are calmer. Bella hesitated. She didn't give her number to strange men, especially wealthy ones who lived in a completely different world. But this wasn't about that. This was one parent to another. She rattled off her number, which Alexander typed into his phone with shaking hands. Then he was gone, following the team wheeling his tiny daughter to the elevator. Mummy, Lucas said in a small voice, is the baby going to be okay? Yes, mi amor. She's going to be just fine. You helped her. I just told the doctors she needed help quickly. Like Superman. Bella laughed softly. Sure, baby, like Superman. Her name was finally called, and as she'd suspected, Lucas had a double ear infection. They left with antibiotics and a bill that would take her 3 months to pay off, but at least her son would be okay. It was nearly 4 a.m. when they got home to their small apartment in South Phoenix, far from the gated communities where people like Alexander Stone lived. Bella gave Lucas his first dose of antibiotics, settled him in her bed, and sat at her kitchen table with a cup of instant coffee, too wired to sleep despite her exhaustion. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Emma is stable, breathing on her own with just oxygen support. The doctors said you saved her life. There aren't words for my gratitude. Alexander Stone. Bella stared at the message, then typed back, I'm so glad she's doing better. Hug her extra when she's well enough. She didn't expect to hear from him again. Their worlds had intersected for one dramatic night, but now they would return to their separate orbits. His of board meetings and charity galas, hers of warehouse shifts and overdue bills. But the next afternoon, as she was getting ready for work while Lucas napped off his antibiotic-induced drowsiness, her doorbell rang. She opened it to find a delivery man holding the most enormous bouquet of flowers she'd ever seen, along with a stuffed elephant nearly as big as Lucas. Isabella Ramirez. Yes? These are for you. And this, he handed her an envelope, was to be delivered personally. Bella brought everything inside, staring at the flowers that probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget. The elephant was incredibly soft, with a tag reading Jellycat that meant nothing to her but looked expensive. She opened the envelope to find a handwritten note on heavy cardstock. Bella, words feel inadequate, but I need to try. You saved my daughter's life. Not through medical training or professional obligation, but through the simple act of paying attention and caring enough to intervene. Emma is breathing normally now, already trying to grab her toys. The doctors keep emphasizing that without immediate intervention, the outcome could have been devastating. I've included something for Lucas. I hope he feels better soon. If there's ever anything you need, anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. With eternal gratitude, Alexander Stone. P.S. Emma's nurse mentioned you were charged for your ER visit. I've taken care of it. Please don't be offended. It's literally the least I could do. Bella's hands shook. Her ER bill, paid, that was $3,000 she didn't have, wouldn't have for months. She sank onto her couch, overwhelmed. Mommy, Lucas padded out, rubbing his eyes. Big elephant. His joy at seeing the stuffed animal broke through her shock. Is it for you, baby? For me? Lucas's eyes went wide. From the man with the sick baby, to say thank you for letting Mommy help. Lucas hugged the elephant, which was nearly as tall as him. I love him. His name is Ellie. That evening, Bella called in sick to work, something she never did, but she couldn't leave Lucas alone while he was still fevered, and Mrs. Chen was visiting her daughter in California. Her supervisor was unsympathetic. This is your third absence this quarter, Ramirez. One more and you're on probation. My son is sick. Everyone has problems. Be here tomorrow or don't bother coming back. Bella hung up, fighting tears. She couldn't lose this job. It paid $15 an hour, which was good for Phoenix, and had health insurance, even if the deductibles were killing her. Her phone rang. Alexander. Hello? Bella. I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted you to know Emma came off oxygen support today. She's breathing completely on her own. That's wonderful news. How's Lucas? Better. The antibiotics are working. She couldn't keep the exhaustion from her voice. Are you okay? Fine, just tired. I need to find a babysitter for tomorrow so I can work. Where do you work? Amazon warehouse. Night shift usually, but I need to make up hours tomorrow. There was a pause. Bella, can I ask you something, and please don't be offended? Okay. Would you consider a different job? I mean, I run a tech company, Stone Innovations. We have an on-site daycare, full benefits, and we're always looking for talented people. I'm not qualified for tech. I didn't even finish community college. You recognized a medical emergency that trained professionals missed. You advocated effectively using medical terminology you learned through experience. You stayed calm in a crisis. Those are skills I value more than degrees. Mr. Stone, Alexander, please. Alexander, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I don't want a pity job. It's not pity, it's practical. I've been thinking about this all day. We need someone to run our employee wellness program. Someone who understands what working parents actually need, who can spot when employees are struggling, who has real-world experience with healthcare challenges. That's you. I don't know anything about wellness programs. But you know about being a working single parent. You know about navigating healthcare with a sick child. You know about making impossible choices between work and family. That's the expertise I need. Bella was quiet, thinking about her supervisor's threat, about the bills piling up, about Lucas deserving better than their struggling existence. Can I think about it? Of course. But Bella, the starting salary is $70,000 a year. Bella nearly dropped the phone. That was more than double what she made at the warehouse. That's too much. That's the standard rate for the position, plus full health benefits, including dental and vision, 3 weeks paid vacation, and, as I mentioned, on-site daycare. I need to think. Take your time. Emma and I aren't going anywhere. After they hung up, Bella sat staring at her phone. It felt like a trap or a dream, or maybe both. Rich men didn't just offer jobs to random women they met in emergency rooms. There had to be a catch. But what if there wasn't? If you're moved by this story of courage and compassion, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell to see how Bella's life-changing decision unfolds. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They're just mothers who know when a child needs help. 3 days later, Bella stood outside the gleaming glass building that housed Stone Innovations in Scottsdale, wearing the only business outfit she owned, a black pantsuit she'd bought for Diego's funeral. Lucas held her hand, excited about seeing the toy room Alexander had mentioned. The lobby was all modern art and sustainable materials, with a living wall that made Lucas gasp in delight. Young people in jeans and t-shirts moved through the space with purpose and energy. Bella felt ancient and out of place. Bella, Alexander appeared, looking different from the terrified father in the ER. He wore jeans and a button-down shirt, looking younger and more relaxed. And you must be Lucas. I heard you named your elephant Ellie. Lucas nodded shyly, half hiding behind Bella's leg. Would you like to see our playroom while your mum and I talk? The daycare center was a parent's dream. Bright, clean, with age-appropriate areas and engaged caregivers. Lucas immediately gravitated toward the building blocks, and one of the teachers, a warm woman named Patricia, engaged him in construction projects. Alexander led Bella to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Camelback Mountain. Before we talk about the job, he said, I want you to meet someone. A woman entered carrying Emma, who looked healthy and alert, nothing like the gray baby from the ER. This is Monica, my sister. She flew in from New York when Emma got sick. And this, he took Emma, who grabbed his nose and giggled. is the little troublemaker who scared us all. She looks wonderful, Bella said, genuinely delighted to see the baby thriving. Thanks to you. Monica's voice was warm. Alex told me everything. How you recognized what was wrong. How you advocated for immediate treatment. I'm a pediatric surgeon in New York, and I can tell you, what you did required incredible instinct and courage. I just did what any mother would do. No, Monica said firmly. I've seen plenty of parents freeze in crisis. You acted, that's a gift. Monica excused herself to take Emma for a bottle, leaving Alexander and Bella alone. So, Alexander said, let me tell you about the position. For the next hour, he outlined his vision for an employee wellness program that went beyond traditional corporate offerings. He wanted someone who could identify struggling employees, connect them with resources, advocate for better benefits, and create a culture where work-life balance wasn't just a buzzword. Why does this matter to you so much? Bella asked. Alexander was quiet for a moment. My wife Sarah died when Emma was 2 months old. Drunk driver hit her car head-on. I threw myself into work because it was easier than grieving. But that night in the ER holding Emma, thinking I might lose her too, I realized I've been doing everything wrong. Building a successful company doesn't matter if the people in it are miserable, if they're choosing between sick children and keeping their jobs. Like I was. Exactly. I want Stone Innovations to be different, but I need someone who actually understands these challenges to help me do it right. I might fail. You might. But I don't think you will. You've been solving impossible problems your whole life, haven't you? Bella thought about the last 2 years, Diego's death, raising Lucas alone, juggling bills and jobs and childcare. I suppose I have. Then this will be easy by comparison. Plus you'll have resources and support. When would I start? Whenever you're ready. Tomorrow, next week, next month. Whatever works for you. Bella thought about her supervisor's threat, about the warehouse job that was slowly breaking her body and spirit. Monday, she said. I can start Monday. Alexander's face broke into a genuine smile that transformed him from corporate CEO to just a young father who'd gotten good news. Perfect. HR will send over the paperwork. And Bella, welcome to Stone Innovations. That weekend, Bella gave notice at the warehouse. Her supervisor was unsympathetic. Running off to something better, huh? Good luck with that. These fancy jobs never last for people like us. People like us. Bella had been hearing that her whole life. People who didn't go to college. People who lived paycheck to paycheck. People who didn't belong in gleaming office buildings. But Monday morning, when she dropped Lucas at the company daycare and headed to her own office, she decided maybe people like us could belong anywhere they chose to work hard enough. The first weeks were overwhelming. Bella had to learn corporate software, understand benefits packages, navigate office politics. But Alexander had been right. Her life experience was her qualification. She knew which benefits actually helped because she'd needed them. She understood the stress of juggling childcare and work because she'd lived it. Within a month, she'd implemented 3 new programs. Emergency childcare reimbursement for when regular arrangements fell through, a meal prep service discount for working parents, and flexible work-from-home options for employees with sick family members. You're already making a difference, Alexander told her during their weekly check-in. He'd instituted these meetings to help her transition, but they'd become something more. Conversations that ranged from corporate strategy to parenting challenges. The employees are actually using the programs, Bella said, showing him the metrics. 30% uptake in the first month. Because they trust you. You're not some corporate suit telling them what they need. You're someone who's been there. Emma was in a bouncer in his office, babbling happily. The nanny had quit, a family emergency back in the Philippines, and Alexander was juggling childcare like every other single parent. You know, Bella said, watching him try to type one-handed while bouncing Emma with his foot. You could use the emergency childcare benefit. You're an employee too. I'm the CEO, I can't. Why not? If you don't use your own programs, why should anyone else? It became a pattern. Emma spent more time in the office daycare, often playing with Lucas. The 2 children developed a bond, with Lucas declaring himself Emma's big brother and taking his protection duties seriously. Emma needs me, he would tell Bella solemnly. She's just a baby. 6 months into the job, Bella had transformed the wellness program. Employee satisfaction scores were up 20%. Retention had improved. The company was being featured in business magazines as a model for work-life balance. But more than that, Bella had found her confidence. She spoke up in meetings, pushed back on policies that didn't serve employees, and had earned the respect of even the most skeptical executives. "You've changed," Alexander told her one evening. They were both working late, Emma and Lucas asleep in pack and plays in his office. It had become their routine when big projects demanded extra hours, easier than arranging separate childcare. "Have I? You walk differently, speak differently. You own your space now. I feel like I belong here. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. You are. Stone Innovations needed you more than you needed us. I wouldn't go that far. That 70,000 salary has been pretty life-changing. Is it enough? It's more than enough, Alexander." She used his first name easily now, their relationship having evolved from employer-employee to something harder to define. "Lucas and I have everything we need, but not everything you deserve." The way he said it, the way he looked at her, made Bella's heart skip. She'd been careful to keep things professional, but somewhere along the way, she'd started noticing things. How his eyes crinkled when he really smiled, how gentle he was with both children, how he listened to her ideas like they mattered. "Alexander, I know. You work for me. It's complicated. I want you to know you're appreciated. Not just as an employee, as a person, as the woman who saved Emma, as Lucas's mother, as you." That night, Bella lay awake thinking about boundaries and possibilities. She'd built a good life here. Lucas was thriving in the daycare and the excellent school district they could now afford. She had a career, not just a job. She couldn't risk it all for feelings that might be one-sided or temporary. But then she thought about Alexander's face when he watched her with the children, the way he sought her opinion on everything from company policy to Emma's sleep schedule. Maybe the feelings weren't one-sided at all. A year into her employment, everything changed with a single phone call. Bella was in her office reviewing proposals for an on-site health clinic when her assistant knocked. "There's someone here to see you, says he's Lucas's grandfather." Bella's blood ran cold. Diego's father, Roberto, stood in her doorway. She hadn't seen him since Diego's funeral, where he'd blamed her for his son's death. If she hadn't asked Diego to pick up diapers that night, he wouldn't have been on his motorcycle in the rain. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Nice office," Roberto said, looking around with calculating eyes. "You've done well for yourself. Diego would be surprised." "What do you want, Roberto?" "I want to see my grandson. It's been 2 years, Isabella. You've kept him from me long enough." "I haven't kept him from anyone. You chose to disappear after the funeral. I was grieving. So was I. But I still had to raise our son." Roberto's eyes hardened. "Our son, Diego's son. And Diego would want him to know his family. Lucas has a family, me. A boy needs male influence. I've been thinking, maybe Lucas should spend some time with me, weekends." "Summers?" "Absolutely not. I could file for grandparents' rights. Arizona law is very supportive of maintaining family connections." Bella felt the floor drop out from under her. She couldn't afford a custody battle. Even with her new salary, legal fees would destroy her. "Get out," she said quietly. "Think about it, Isabella. Wouldn't it be better to come to an agreement between us, rather than involve courts and lawyers?" After he left, Bella sat at her desk shaking. She pulled up Arizona grandparents' rights laws on her computer, her heart sinking as she read. Roberto could indeed file for visitation, especially since Diego was deceased. "Bella." Alexander stood in her doorway, concern etched on his face. "Patricia from daycare said a man was asking about Lucas. Are you okay?" The dam broke. Bella found herself telling Alexander everything. Roberto's blame, his abandonment, his sudden reappearance, the threat of legal action. Alexander listened, his face growing darker with each detail. He abandoned Lucas for 2 years and now wants visitation? He's Lucas's grandfather. The courts will look at what's best for Lucas. A grandfather who disappeared during the hardest time of a child's life doesn't look good. He paused. "Bella, I know this is overstepping, but Stone Innovations has a legal team. They could help. I can't use company resources for personal. Then use my personal attorney. Please let me help." "Why?" Bella asked. "Why do you care so much?" Alexander was quiet for a long moment. "Because Emma loves Lucas. Because you've made my company better. Because you saved my daughter. Because—" he took a breath. "Because I care about you. More than I should. More than is appropriate. I care about you and Lucas, and I can't stand the thought of anyone threatening your family. Bella's breath caught. Alexander, I know. You work for me. It's complicated. But my feelings aren't going away. They've only grown stronger watching you these past months. Seeing you with the employees, with the children, seeing you come into your own. I'm in love with you, Bella. I have been for months. The office was silent except for the hum of air conditioning and the distant sound of phones ringing. I could transfer to another company, Bella said quietly. There are other tech firms. Don't you dare. Stone Innovations needs you. I need you, but not just as an employee. I need you in my life, in Emma's life, but only if you feel the same. If you don't, we'll pretend this conversation never happened and maintain professional boundaries. Bella stood and walked to the window, looking out at the desert landscape. Lucas asked me the other day if you could be his dad. Alexander inhaled sharply. I told him you were Mommy's boss and Emma's daddy. He said, but he teaches me stuff and plays with me and reads stories. That's dad stuff. Smart kid. Bella turned to face him. I'm in love with you too, but I'm terrified. My job, Lucas's stability, everything we've built. We'll figure it out. Together, if you'll let me. What about the company? HR policies? I'm the CEO. I can modify policies. Or I can step back from direct supervision of your role, or a dozen other solutions. Bella, I've spent the last year watching you transform not just my company, but my life. Emma lights up when she sees you. Lucas has become like a son to me. We're already a family in everything but name. Roberto, we'll have to go through my legal team to get anywhere near Lucas. And Bella, he won't win. Not against the mother who's provided stability, love, and opportunity for her son. That evening, Bella and Alexander had their first real conversation about a future together, while Lucas and Emma played on the floor of Alexander's office. They discussed boundaries, timelines, and how to protect both children while exploring their relationship. We take it slow, Alexander said. We're public about it to avoid any appearance of deception. We modify your reporting structure so you report to the COO instead of me, and we put the children first in every decision. People will talk. They'll say I'm sleeping my way to the top. Let them. Your work speaks for itself. Employee satisfaction is at an all-time high. 3 other companies have tried to poach you. You're brilliant at this job, and everyone knows it. Roberto did file for visitation rights, but Alexander's legal team was ready. They documented Roberto's 2-year absence, his lack of financial support, his failure to even send a birthday card. They also uncovered his real motivation. He'd learned about Bella's new job and relationship with Alexander and saw dollar signs. The judge denied Roberto's petition, stating that disrupting Lucas's stable environment after years of absence was not in the child's best interest. Roberto was welcome to send letters or gifts, but formal visitation was denied. We won, Bella told Lucas gently, not wanting to badmouth his grandfather but needing him to understand. Does that mean Roberto won't take me away? No one's taking you anywhere, mi amor. You're stuck with me. And Alexander and Emma. Them too, if you want. I want, Lucas said firmly. We're a family now. 6 months later, Alexander proposed in the emergency room of St. Mary's Hospital. They'd brought both kids for Lucas's follow-up ear check and Emma's 1-year RSV vaccine. The same triage nurse, Janet, was working. I remember you, she said to Bella. You're the one who spotted that baby's respiratory distress, probably saved her life. That baby, Alexander said, holding Emma, who was now a chubby, healthy toddler, changed all our lives. He handed Emma to Bella and got down on one knee right there in the waiting room. Isabella Ramirez, you saved my daughter's life, but more than that, you saved mine. You showed me that there's more to success than stock prices and market shares. You've made me a better father, a better CEO, and a better man. Will you marry me? Will you and Lucas officially join Emma and me as a family? The entire waiting room was watching. Someone was filming on their phone. Lucas was jumping up and down, chanting, "Say yes, say yes." Yes, Bella said through tears. Of course, yes. The waiting room erupted in applause. Janet wiped away tears. Best thing I've seen in this ER in 20 years. The wedding was held a year later at Stone Innovations, in the daycare center that had brought them together. Employees, clients, and family filled the space that had been transformed with desert flowers and twinkling lights. Monica flew in from New York to be Alexander's best woman. You know, she told Bella, I've never seen my brother this happy, not even before Sarah died. You didn't just save Emma that night, you saved him too. Bella's matron of honor was Patricia from the daycare, who'd become her closest friend. From warehouse worker to corporate executive to CEO's wife, that's quite a journey. The title I'm proudest of is still Mom, Bella said, watching Lucas carefully carry the rings while Emma toddled behind him as the world's most chaotic flower girl. The ceremony was simple, but meaningful. They'd written their own vows. Bella, Alexander said, you entered our lives in a moment of crisis and turned it into a moment of transformation. You saw Emma's distress when I was blind to it. You saw potential in a grieving CEO and a struggling company. You see the best in people and fight for them to see it too. I promise to spend my life seeing you the way you see others, with clarity, compassion, and endless love. Alexander, Bella replied, you gave me opportunity when I had none. But more than a job, you gave me belief in myself. You saw not just a struggling single mother, but a capable woman with something to offer. You made space for Lucas and me in your life, not as additions, but as essential parts. I promise to keep saving you every day, in small ways and big ones, just as you keep saving me. Lucas, who'd been fidgeting in his little suit, suddenly spoke up. Can I say something? The crowd laughed as he took the microphone. Alexander is the best bonus dad ever. He taught me to ride a bike and code computers, and that it's okay to cry when you're sad. And Emma is the best little sister, even though she drools on my toys. We're a real family now. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. 2 years into their marriage, Bella had transformed the employee wellness program into a model that companies worldwide were adopting. She spoke at conferences, consulted for Fortune 500 companies, and had written a book about supporting working parents. But her proudest achievement was the emergency response training program she'd implemented at Stone Innovations. Every employee learned basic signs of medical distress in children and adults, inspired by that night in the ER. You never know when recognizing symptoms could save a life, she told each training class. The program had already saved 3 lives, an employee's grandfather having a stroke, a client's child with appendicitis, and a janitor's wife in diabetic crisis. Alexander, meanwhile, had restructured Stone Innovations to be truly family first. The company had grown 300% while maintaining the highest employee satisfaction ratings in the tech industry. Happy employees are productive employees, he told business journals, always crediting Bella with the insight. One evening, as they sat on their patio watching Lucas teach Emma to play soccer in the backyard, Bella felt a familiar nausea. I think I'm pregnant, she told Alexander. His face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? Really? Lucas will be thrilled. He's been asking for another sibling. Emma might not be happy about not being the baby anymore. She'll adjust. We all will. 7 months later, they welcomed twins, Diego Alexander and Sarah Isabella. The names honored their lost loves while celebrating their new beginning. Our family's complete, Alexander said, holding Diego while Bella nursed Sarah. Never say that, Bella laughed. You jinx it. Sure enough, 2 years later, they adopted Maria, a 6-year-old girl whose parents had died in a car accident, leaving her in foster care. Lucas, now 13, appointed himself her protector. Emma, 8, finally had a sister close to her age. Their house was chaos, 5 children, 2 demanding careers, and a constant stream of employees, friends, and family seeking advice or support. But it was their chaos, built from a foundation of crisis and compassion. Do you ever think about that night? Alexander asked one evening, 10 years after they'd met. They were in the ER again, this time with Maria, who'd broken her arm falling off monkey bars. Which part? You pacing like a caged lion? Emma turning blue? Me almost not going to the ER because of the copay? All of it. How different our lives would be if you hadn't been there. Bella shuddered. Emma might have. Don't. She didn't. Because you were there. Because you acted. Janet, still working triage after all these years, came over. The Ramirez Stone family. What is it this time? Broken arm, Maria said proudly, like it was an achievement. You know, Janet said to Bella, I think about that night a lot. How you advocated for that baby. I've gotten better at spotting respiratory distress because of you. You changed how I do my job. We all change each other, Bella said. That's the point. As they waited for Maria's X-ray, Bella watched their blended family. Lucas helping Emma with homework on his phone, Alexander holding the twins who refused to be left with a babysitter, Maria chattering about how cool her cast would be. "Mum," Lucas said, now taller than her at 17, "I've decided what I want to study in college. Engineering like Alexander, pediatric emergency medicine, like the doctors who saved Emma." Bella's eyes filled with tears. "That's wonderful, mijo. I want to be the doctor who listens when a mom says something's wrong, the one who sees what others miss. You'll be amazing at it." "I learned from the best," Lucas said, hugging her. "You saved Emma, which gave me Alexander as a dad and all these chaos siblings. One moment of you being brave changed everything." Alexander's company eventually expanded nationwide, with Bella's wellness programs becoming the gold standard for corporate America. They were invited to the White House to discuss their innovative approach to work-life balance. "From a warehouse worker to the White House," Bella told the president. "It started with recognizing a baby in distress." "Your story is what America is about," the president replied. "Opportunity meeting preparation, compassion creating success." But the real success, Bella thought, was sitting in their backyard on Sunday mornings, all 7 of them, 8, counting the dog Emma had convinced them to adopt, eating pancakes and arguing about everything from soccer teams to social justice. "Tell us the story again," Maria would demand, "about how you and Daddy met." "One dark and stormy night," Alexander would begin dramatically, making the younger kids giggle. "It was dusty, not stormy," Bella would correct, "in a crowded emergency room." "Where Daddy was freaking out," Emma would add, old enough now to tease. "A brave mother recognized that a baby couldn't breathe and saved her life," Lucas would finish, "changing all our lives forever." "Is that really how it happened?" Maria asked one day, skeptical as 6-year-olds often are. "Every word," Alexander assured her. "Your mom is a hero." "I'm not a hero," Bella protested as she always did. "I just did what any mother would do." "No," Alexander said, as he always did. "You did what only you could do. You saw, you acted, you saved. That's heroism." 20 years after that night in the ER, they stood in the same emergency room for a different reason. Lucas, now Dr. Lucas Ramirez Stone, was completing his residency at St. Mary's. He'd specifically requested this placement, wanting to work where his story began. "Dr. Ramirez Stone," the attending physician said, "we have an infant in respiratory distress. Want to take lead?" Lucas handled the case expertly, recognizing RSV immediately, implementing treatment protocols that had advanced significantly in 2 decades. "Excellent work," the attending said. "You have good instincts." "I learned from my mom," Lucas said. "She taught me that sometimes the most important voice in the room is the one that speaks up for those who can't speak for themselves." The baby's parents were crying with relief as their child's breathing eased. Lucas thought about Alexander's terror that night, about his mother's courage, about the threads that connected that moment to this one. "Your baby's going to be fine," he told them. "Kids are resilient, and sometimes even the scariest nights lead to beautiful futures." Later at a family dinner celebrating Lucas's first save, the story was told again, how it always was at important moments. But this time, Maria, now in college studying social work, added a new perspective. "You know what I love about our origin story? It's not about money or power or even romance, really. It's about recognition. Mom recognized Emma needed help. Alexander recognized Mom's potential. You recognized each other as partners. Recognition is love." "When did you get so wise?" Bella asked. "I learned from the best family in the world," Maria said. "A family built on seeing each other clearly and choosing to help. Emma, now a biomedical engineer working on revolutionary respiratory monitoring devices for infants, raised her glass. "To Mom, who saved my life. To Alexander, who changed mine," Bella countered. "To both of you, who gave us all a family," Lucas added. The twins, both in high school and embarrassed by family sentiment, still joined the toast. "To emergency rooms and instinct. To courage and compassion. To recognition and love." As Bella looked around the table at her family, biological, adopted, chosen, cherished, she thought about that exhausted, terrified woman in the ER 20 years ago. The one who almost hadn't gone because of the copay, the one working 3 jobs and drowning in grief. That woman had no idea that one moment of maternal instinct would create all this: careers, companies, innovations, and most importantly, a family, bound not just by blood, but by choice and chance and courage. "What are you thinking about?" Alexander asked, still able to read her moods after all these years. "How glad I am that I went to the ER that night, even though Lucas just had an ear infection, especially because of that. If he'd been sicker, I might have been too focused on him to notice Emma. The perfect level of crisis," Alexander mused. "Enough to put you there, not enough to blind you." "Divine intervention," Bella said, though she'd never been particularly religious. "Or just the beautiful chaos of life," Alexander countered. "Either way, I'm grateful." That night, unable to sleep, Bella walked through their house, pausing at each bedroom door. Lucas was on his laptop, probably reviewing cases. Emma was FaceTiming with her boyfriend, another engineer who understood her passion for preventing infant respiratory emergencies. The twins were allegedly sleeping, but probably on their phones. Maria was home from college for the weekend, her room messier in 2 days than it had been all semester. In their bedroom, Alexander was reading, waiting for her as he always did. "Can't sleep? Too much nostalgia," Bella admitted, climbing into bed. "Regrets? Never." "You? Only that it took a crisis to bring us together. I wish I'd known you before. When Diego was alive, we could have been friends. Our kids could have grown up together from the start. Then we wouldn't have this story, and Lucas is very proud of our story. He tells every girlfriend about it. It's probably why they don't last. Impossible standards." Bella laughed. "He'll find someone who understands that sometimes love comes from unexpected places. Like emergency rooms?" "Like emergency rooms." They lay in comfortable silence, the desert night quiet outside their windows. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Board meetings for Alexander, a conference keynote for Bella, soccer games and science projects and teenage dramas. But tonight, they were simply grateful for the path that had led them here, from a terrifying night in an emergency room to a life fuller than either had imagined possible. "Alexander? Thank you for seeing me. Not just that night, but after, for seeing what I could become. Thank you for saving Emma, and for saving me from becoming a bitter workaholic who missed his daughter's childhood. We saved each other." The best kind of love story. As sleep finally claimed them, Bella's last thought was of that panicked father in the ER, holding his dying baby. If she could tell him one thing, it would be this: the worst nights sometimes lead to the best lives. You just have to be brave enough to see the possibilities hidden in the crisis, and sometimes you need someone else to see you clearly when you can't see yourself. That's what love is: recognition, action, and the courage to build something beautiful from a moment of terror. The ripples from that night continued spreading. Lucas saved hundreds of babies in his career, many with respiratory distress. Emma's monitoring device became standard in NICUs worldwide, preventing countless infant deaths. Maria's social work focused on helping single parents navigate crisis. The twins both went into public health, inspired by their family's story of systematic change born from personal experience. Alexander's company became the most family-friendly corporation in America, with Bella's programs adopted by legislation as recommended standards. Their foundation provided emergency medical funds for families facing healthcare crisis, but the true legacy was simpler: 2 single parents who found each other in the worst moment of their lives and chose to build something beautiful from the ashes of fear. Every year on March 15th, the anniversary of that ER night, they returned to St. Mary's Hospital with a donation and a dinner for the ER staff. "Why do you do this?" a young triage nurse asked during their 20th anniversary visit. "Because emergency rooms are where miracles happen," Bella said, "where strangers become family, where crisis becomes opportunity, where a single moment of recognition can change everything." "Tell me the story," the nurse said, and they did. The whole story, from Bella's hesitation about the copay to Alexander's terror to the moment Bella recognized Emma's distress. "So if I hadn't been working that night," Janet, now the ER nursing supervisor, mused, "someone else would have been there. But you were part of our story, the nurse who listened when a desperate mother advocated for a baby." "Best night of my career," Janet said, "even if I didn't know it at the time." As they left the hospital that night, Bella's phone rang, an unknown Phoenix number. "Hello? Is this Isabella Ramirez Stone?" "Yes. This is Dr. Patterson at Phoenix Children's. I know this is unusual, but we have a situation. A single father in our ER with a baby in distress. He's alone, terrified, and the baby's symptoms are puzzling. Someone suggested you might be able to help, said you have experience with unusual presentations. Bella looked at Alexander, who was already grabbing his keys. "We'll be there in 15 minutes, she said. "Because that's what you did when someone needed help. You showed up. You looked closely. You acted with courage. You recognized that every crisis contained the seeds of transformation, if only someone was brave enough to see it." The circle continued, the ripples spread, and somewhere in Phoenix another single parent was about to discover that the worst night of their life might also be the beginning of something beautiful. "Ready?" Alexander asked as they got in the car. "Always," Bella said. "Let's go save someone." And they did. Again and again and again. Because that's what love looked like, not grand gestures, but small acts of recognition and courage multiplied across years and lives until they became a legacy. The legacy of a single mother who took a baby to the ER and saw what others missed. The legacy of a CEO who knelt in thanks and meant it. The legacy of two broken people who built something whole from the pieces. The legacy of love born from crisis, nurtured through courage and sustained by the simple act of seeing each other clearly. In the end, that's all any of us can do. Recognize when someone needs help and be brave enough to give it. The rest is just beautiful consequence. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of courage, compassion, and the life-changing power of maternal instinct. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell to join our community of people who believe in the power of helping others. Share this story with someone who needs to be reminded that their instincts matter, that their voice deserves to be heard, and that one moment of courage can transform multiple lives. Remember, you never know when your decision to act could save a life and create a beautiful future for everyone involved. Until next time, trust your instincts, speak up for those who can't, and never underestimate the power of one person choosing to help. Every one of us has the potential to be someone's hero, sometimes in the most unexpected moments.